Good morning. Welcome to the annual meeting of the CSA. I first want to establish a quorum. I call the meeting to an order. I want to establish a quorum. I ask our Secretary, Carrie Corbett, do we have a quorum?
Chairman, we do have a quorum, and I hold 27% of the proxies, so we are all in accordance.
Good. Another couple of perfunctory things. I'm to announce the nominating committee for Class A and Class B directors. Class A are our residential directors, and those nominating committee is David Pardue, Jim Caskey, and Leanne Lee. Also, I'll announce the nominating committee for the commercial directors, our Class B directors, and that's Don Sigmund and Rick Ray. With that done, I'm going to give a report. Now, this report is supposed to be about 2023, because that's the year which just ended. I'm going to wander from that into 2024, and as I usually do, even I got some.
You need to do the date of record.
Okay, we didn't. Okay, I missed something. Date of record. Okay, the date of record is October 1, 2024. That'll be the people who will be allowed to vote for the residential directors. Okay, now we've got all of that out of the way. I want to thank the 2023 Board of Directors and ask that you put a screenshot. That's the directors that served in 2023. 3 of those directors have retired: Greg Thompson, Charlie Minor, and Bill Johnson. They've devoted a lot of time and energy and their talents to serve our community, and we thank them. Also, I want to introduce the new directors to the board, and we now have the screen for the new directors. And the new directors are Jim Caskey, Steve Fricker, Andrea Tarbach, and Steve Stearns, who is filling a vacancy on the commercial directors.
Tim Stearns.
Tim, I got Tim down. See, I can't even read. It is my pleasure to serve with some very talented people who unselfishly dedicate their time in the service of our community. And all of these people, none of them get paid. They don't get anything. They just devote their time and try to do the best we can. It's also a pleasure to work with our dedicated staff, starting with Sam Bennett, our president, because they're the ones that make things happen. We may think that the board, or you may think that the board makes things happen. The board sets policy. Sam Bennett and his staff are the ones that make things happen. And you see all of those people you see out there that are working with yellow jackets all the way into the administrative staff, which is in this building. Now, I would go over a lot of things that are in the annual report. Annual report was sent to you last week. It's online. There's not printed copies of it available, so they're online. That annual report provides a lot of information about CSA, who CSA is, what it does, the number of employees, the activities, and things of that nature. You need to read that. It's very important to you to help understand what CSA is. Give you a little bit about 2023. That was my first year as chair. I thought that what I wanted to do was examine some of the procedures and the protocols that CSA used in its operations, of particularly the board mechanism, not in operations in Sam Bennett's department, but in the board. I found, in my opinion, that the committees we had were overlapping. The topics were overlapping. The staff reported the same thing to multiple committees. And so to some extent, we combined committees. We have one of them that's now a mega committee. And then we eliminated those committees who the functions were not there for them to do or got combined. So we went to a series of what are called task force, ad hoc committees, if you want, to where we would have a task for that committee. And when that task was over with, that committee would no longer exist. We tried that last year. We started with the e-bike task force, and we brought in property owners as advisory members to talk to and give their opinions and stuff to the task force. Task force then made a recommendation to the board of directors. The directors adopted that recommendation. That task force ended. So this year, we've gone more extensively to task force, and there are several of them, and I'm going to mention them to you. There's a task force for the traffic issues on the South Island traffic circle. Now, that's my name for Sea Pine Circle, because that circle, it just doesn't serve Sea Pines. That circle serves the whole south end of this island. Anybody that comes south end, anybody that goes to Coligny, anybody that goes to the beach, goes to the Celebration Park, any of those activities, everybody uses that who's down this end. That task force is divided into multiple related issues. One being the traffic from the circle all the way through the gate and to Club Course. Another is signage. We're trying to get up temporary signage, hopefully not too long from now, to direct people into getting into the correct lane sooner, so we don't have the delays with people trying to switch lanes or ending up into the, go all the way to the gate and have to be turned around and circle and stop everyone. We have the benefit of having worked with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. They have designed some signs for us, and we're in the process of getting some quotes and to move forward to do at least some temporarily and just as fast as we can, and we may come with more permanent signs later on. The signage also needs to include the roads approaching the circle from other directions, and it's same as going out of Sea Pines. There needs to be signage that refers to that right lane going out is going only to Pope Avenue, so you do not get blocked up by cars trying to switch from the right lane into the left. And hopefully some of the signage will assist the crossover, which are situations that are very difficult. These signs that they've recommended are overhead signs in most part. So you will see some overhead signs. They're more visible. They think people will see them from a greater distance than the signs that come up from the ground. We also have that task force is dealing with the traffic in the 4 quadrants leading into that circle, and which is a major fix for the circle, which is going to happen. This is a very difficult situation. It's very complex. I'm not going to get into where we are right now on all of these task force I'm talking about. I'm telling you that they exist, but there will be reports at our May meeting, our May board meeting, and you will hear some extensive reports of where things stand in each one of these. We also then created a communications task force. And the purpose of this is that we realize that we need to get more information to our community, and we need to get it in a way that's clearly understandable and focused on one issue at a time, so that you can have the ability to understand and know what's going on and not have to go to various leaks and everything else. And that task force, one of the first things we'll be doing is taking our critical infrastructure, and they will be comparing what the original estimates were with what's been done and the actuality and where we stand. And so they'll be giving you information on, really a very deep understanding of the entire thing. We will not try to, we'll try to get you all of that information in one place. You need to know what the situation is the day we started, the day we proposed that to you, and then how it's worked so far and functions and the predictions. Then we have a task force studying battery operated lawn equipment and the viability of requiring the use of that equipment within Sea Pines. That task force has been gathering information. There's been new equipment, new batteries, and it has to compare the economic consequences of that as well as the efficiency and power of the equipment. And we're moving forward on that. And again, you will hear a report on that at our May board meeting. So I'm not going to preempt their reports by telling you what they're going, what they're going to give you and what they're going to say. But what I want to talk about now is, what is CSA? And I'm going to give you my perspective. As 4 years on the CSA board, extensive reading of the covenants and the court rulings, reading of the documents arising from the bankruptcy court organization of the developer, but also from my personal experience from many years of providing legal services to municipal and county governments. This is my perspective. For those who want to parse each word, this is not a legal treatise. It's my perspective. CSA, in my opinion, is somewhat akin to a municipal government in the duties that it has to provide to CPINs. CSA provides security, law enforcement, paves and repairs roads, does drainage, manages open space, and sets speed limits, and so on and so on. Many of these functions are the same functions that are done by municipality. But CSA does not have all of the authority that a municipal government has. CSA came about as a result of the bankruptcy court reorganization of the parent company. CSA was assigned certain duties and rights and with some limitations. CSA inherited the covenants and various legal settlements and agreements and court rulings that went into effect before CSA even came in existence. CSA is subject to all of those, plus the provisions of the assignment from the bankruptcy court. The court established the makeup of CSA board. There are 9 members elected by the residential property owners, 4 members appointed by the successor companies, now Sea Pines Resort, and 4 directors elected by the commercial enterprises that exist in Sea Pines. Certain rights and privileges of the developer were assigned to non-CSA entities. Those were assigned by the bankruptcy court. Those are in existence. So there may be some situations where you think that CSA has the ability to handle or to change something, when in fact, CSA does not have the right to do that, or it requires agreement and usually universal, unanimous agreement of non-CSA entities. Those documents were all developed initially by the original developer, and they can only be changed in very difficult manners, and some of them can't be changed without the unanimous agreement of all the parties. Those documents at the time, and as long ago as they were, cannot foresee the changing needs of our community in the future. But the ability of CSA to address those changing needs is limited by those laws, as I call them, which CSA can't change alone or sometimes cannot change at all. So CSA has to find workarounds. There are some state laws which help us. And on the authority of those state laws, CSA created a code of standards by which CSA will try to address those needs. Well, the bankruptcy court gave limited authority to CSA. I personally believe that CSA, if it's going to properly serve our community, we must find a way for CSA to handle all of the needs of our community, even those which were not assigned by a court to anyone, but which are necessary and appropriate to provide for the quality of life in Sea Pines. Particularly, I'm talking about those things which were not within the jurisdiction of the town or any other government unity. They're left uncovered. We have a wonderful community. And we all, basically all of us came here for whatever personal reasons we had. I came here to retire, but not to retire and mark time until I died. I came here to extend my life and to be active in the life of Sea Pines and to help our community, work in a community, but to enjoy life to the full extent and that I could, even as I got older, with the limitations I might have. So I want to be happy with the life in Sea Pines, and I want you to be happy with the life in Sea Pines. All of us can find something that irritates us. You know, it's difficult to be tolerant with those things we don't like, but hopefully we'll try to fix some of those things and we'll be able to. So I ask you to help us be part of the solution. One thing I can assure you is that my goal is when I leave here, that this community will have improved. This community will have benefited by something that I and this CSA board that I've been serving on for the past 4.5 years has done. Our job is to make your lives happier and to enhance the quality of life in Sea Pines. We want to do that. We work unselfishly. So it's been my honor to serve you, and I thank the board for the privilege of allowing me to be the chair. It's a pleasure to work with the leadership that's on the board, and it's a pleasure to work with the leadership of Sam Bennett and his team and all of the CSA employees do the hard work that make our lives more enjoyable. This is a team effort. I ask you to be part of that team. I listen to read your emails. I do not respond to them all. There's not enough time in the day, but I read them. I take your concerns to heart. We do try to find solutions when we feel there are ways that we can do it and we have the ability to do it. I can assure you that we don't have any ulterior motives, but our motive is only to serve you to enhance this community. So my thanks goes first to the CSA board members for their unselfish volunteer service they render on behalf of our community. And most importantly, to Sam Bennett and his team and all of CSA employees. Lastly, I want to ask you again to read the annual report. There's a lot of information in there that will help you understand CSA and what CSA does. At our board meeting, we will go into reports on various topics that I have kind of broad brushed here and identified, because this is not the time to go into 2024 matters other than tell you we're set up. So it's important, if you want to know what's going on, you know, to be able to tune in to the board meetings, and if not, watch it later on the video. It gives you information. Frequently, I am asked questions in emails that were already answered in board meetings. And, you know, that's, we do that, but it's really time consuming when the information is already there. Please read the newsletters. We're trying to make those more readable, more easily for you to go to links to find out information. Even I miss certain parts of those because it's so voluminous, and I have to be reminded that there's a link on it. I know it's difficult, but to get news to you means we have to get a lot of things together, and we have to, you know, try to get it out. So we have to do our part to receive that news. You are wonderful. You have been a big support from CSA and CSA staff and CSA board. We thank you. We thank the positivity that you show. We thank the unity that so many of you have exhibited on the various things we've done. We will continue trying. This is a great place to live. It's not a Garden of Eden. It can be improved, and we're working on it. Sometimes we're a little slower because it takes a lot more consideration to make sure we're doing the right thing. So with that, I leave you, and I'm going to turn this meeting now over to our president,
Victoria Shannon.
Victoria, our financial report. Finance is more important than almost anything else.
Right.
Victoria Shannon.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we're going to go over the most important part, is the finances. Stephanie, I'm ready to put up some slides. I can talk everybody through the slides. The first one we have is for 2023. Where did the money come from? Those two big parts of the pie are your residential assessments and your critical infrastructure assessments. That combined with the commercial property assessments, it makes up 58% of the CSA operating revenue, which is really, I bring this to your attention because I think it's indicative of that CSA has really done a good job of identifying and utilizing and implementing other sources of revenue to not be so reliant on the property owner's assessments. I'm going to start kind of around 1 o'clock on the chart. You've got your annual decals, which is 1.6 million. Those are the decals that are on the commercial vehicles that they determine that they're going to be in here enough times throughout the year that they purchase a decal. Those are the Pelican passes or the island resident decal, the non-resident decal. Moving around the clock to the rental registration program. That's a new program that we implemented in 2023. It brought in $1.12 million. We have a little bit of other operating, kind of moving around to about 10 o'clock. That the gates, this is all the money that's generated through both the Ocean and the Greenwood Gate, almost $4.3 million. That's an enormous amount of money. that those gates generate. And finally, we have the short-term rental passes. Those are those $15 passes that gets somebody that's gonna rent a home here in Sea Pines for a week. That's if they have prepaid them. If they don't do that, you can buy them at the gate when you pull up, and that's $20. That brings in $1.2 million. That money's used to give the sources and the needs of this community based on these short-term rental. There's more cars on the road. There's more calls for service. There's more issues with the community standards. These are what these funds are raised for. All right, now what happened? What did we use this money for? So Stephanie, I need the next one. Okay, so we're gonna start with that big one right there at the northeast corner, maintenance. Almost $4.7 million to spend on maintenance for this community. This is a huge property. That number also includes that third-party vendor that we have with Brightview that for all of our landscaping services. It also includes all the salaries. For those of you who've been around a while, a couple years ago, we were really having a problem recruiting employees. As you know, Sea Pines is the last community on the island, so we're the furthest away from everybody. They pass an enormous amount of other communities before they get here. We are so lucky to have the employees that we have. We have employees that drive over an hour each way every single day. So not only did we adjust their salaries or their base hourly rate in order to recruit them, we also recruiting is one thing, but now we need to maintain them and get them to stay here. So that includes that in maintenance, also in safety and security. We've got that. So again, the demands of the community in increasing the personnel wages for recruitment and retention. The Sea Pines Trolley, as you know, runs seasonally. It costs about $335,000 a year. General administration, that is a big bucket. That almost 2.7 million is made up of the executive, so Sam and Sandra, finance, human resources, community standards, information technology, and communications. I did separate out the cost of our insurance because I think it's such a significant number, and I think everyone out there can personally attest to that. I know I can, that our insurance has really just been so affected. Finally, facilities, that's this building, maintenance buildings, the gatehouses, the community center, they all need repair, paint, so that's. Then finally, your major repairs and your replacements. That's a huge number. It's 23% of the total operating expenditures. That's all that road construction that's going on down in South Sea Pines. That's boardwalks, beach walks, all kinds of projects that are going on around the community. Of that 4.2 million that was spent, 2.6 million of that came from the critical infrastructure funds. Mr. Ellis mentioned that there is something coming your way it's going to be a little presentation probably given by me that's going to summarize what we've collected and where we've spent it and where we intend to spend it. And it's going to be based on what we told the community back in 2020. And finally, depreciation of $695,000. That's simply the depreciation of our vehicles, the trolleys, maintenance equipment, security equipment, things that are giving us life over 1 year. Okay. And you can't give a financial presentation without giving a balance sheet. So if you look at that first line, the current assets, of that $20 million, 19 million of that is cash and investments. It's a pretty big number. So we really have done very well about using the money and investing the money to make it work for us. We are invested in extremely conservative securities. There is a very, very tight investment policy that restricts us from from investing in anything that's at all risky. Finally, your net fixed assets, that's all of our equipment, again, our buildings, our land, our vehicles, our security equipment, maintenance equipment that, as you know, gets depreciated every year. Moving on down to the liabilities, what I want to mention is something that's not there. There is no debt. There's no outstanding debt that CSA has. We certainly have the ability to borrow. We have two sources. We have a line of credit through our financial institution, as well as an ability to borrow against our investments. So I wanted to point that out, that that's a significant thing that's missing from the balance sheet. And the current liabilities of just over 6 million, 4.4 of that is made up of the deferred revenue. And what that simply means is it's the money that we collected in 2023 that is for 2024. So any of the residential property owners that paid in November and December for their 2024, that's in that number. Any of commercial vendors that came in and bought their 2024 decals in 23, that's in that number. And finally, the fund balance of 22 million, 17.1 of that is board designated. It's emergency funding, it's fixed asset for future replacements, it's unspendable fixed assets. Again, you know, those are our cars, our land, our buildings. And so 5 million of that is actually spendable or disposable, they say. That's the accounting word. And finally, just 2 weeks ago, we got our audit finished. There were no audit adjustments made by the auditors. We got a clean opinion. We were complimented how we have great oversight over expenditures. The board reviews financial statements on a monthly basis. They review and approve. So this is a healthy balance sheet. So I wanted to share that with you. And now I'm going to introduce Sam Bennett, our president.
Thank you, Victoria. And I want to thank Victoria personally for all the hard work that she puts into the finances. Without her and her team's efforts and the things they do day in, day out, we wouldn't have such a great record with our finances. I'm very proud of the clean audit. Victoria and her team submitted the work to the auditors, and they had no changes. I mean, so that's something, and it says a lot about her and her team and their expertise. David's done a very good job of talking about what's gone on this past year, and I just want to briefly talk about what we're looking at in the coming year. The community is aware, we've had a very busy year in 2023, and we'll have a very busy year in 2024 and into 2025, particularly on our critical infrastructure improvements. We'll be finishing Sea Pines Drive. If you've had a chance to go down Sea Pines Drive, you've seen the wonderful roadway and the new crosswalks and just the quality of the work that's been done down there and the way that it's really come together. You'll see additional landscaping happening in 2024, but you're going to also see, as we move into the last phase of Sea Pines Drive, some really additions to the south end to tie all the commercial properties together in a way that hasn't happened in the past. There's going to be significant redevelopment in the South Beach Marina area. And so we hope that when all this comes together, moving into 2025, the look and the feel of the South Sea Pines Drive area will be at an even more elevated level. While that's going on, we're also beginning to move into doing some major capital improvements in the Harbor Town area. And this will be a multi-year project that we're going to be taking on. We've got many feet of failing pipe and roadway that's occurred in Harbor Town. And it's not just around the Harbor Town area, but it really stretches down Lighthouse Lane into the side streets, across the golf course, throughout the Harbor Town area. So this will be a very interesting process for us to get into. As the community knows, our time frame for being able to do this type of work is very limited because of the busy season, but also because of access issues. So we will be taking smaller bites of an apple when we move into Harbor Town than we have with Sea Pines Drive, just because the quality of the work needs to occur, as well as the ability to get the work done in a way that doesn't interrupt the community down there and the businesses will mean that we'll have to do it in smaller tranches. But it'll be an interesting work, and we hope that the community will be pleased with it. It should fix many of the drainage issues we have in the area, and also leave the area looking much better as we make some additional landscape improvements in that area. In addition to that, you're going to see us adding some additional rules through our alum process, and these will be focused on dealing with our contractors. We have many great contractors that come into Sea Pines, but on occasion we have contractors that don't follow the rules, aren't good neighbors, and we've had some requests from the community for us to look at how do we work harder with our contractors to make sure that they think as much of Sea Pines when they're in here doing work as the neighbors and the property owners do. So you'll see us addressing that over the course of 2024. And then finally, you'll see us continue to be focused on safety and security. Our new safety and security chief, Joe Count, has been on the job for about 8 months now. He's done a fantastic job. He has gotten us through the heritage. We had a very successful heritage, but he's also done a really good job of helping to stabilize our safety and security turnover with the help of the additional funds the board provided to the organization through the short-term rental program. We've been able to really stop the attrition of our gate officers and our security officers. It's been very beneficial to have some institutional knowledge stick around because, as David Ellis mentioned earlier, the most important asset Sea Pines CSA has are employees. And so when we get employees here, whether it's a gate officer or a security officer or a maintenance employee or communications employee or one of our customer service folks out front, we want to keep them. Now, we want them to be happy to come to work, to look forward to coming to work, and they're here to serve the community and the property owners. And so our goal is to create a positive working environment, and that starts with the salaries they're paid, but it also rolls into how we treat our employees in other areas. And so the board's been very gracious to allow us to do our very best to maintain our employees in a positive way, and we've done that. And so our turnover rate is slowed dramatically than when it was just 3 years ago, and that's something I'm very proud of. As David mentioned, and I'll close with this, our employees are absolutely the most important asset that the community has. What Victoria really didn't go into, and we should probably do this in future, is show you just how much of that $20 million is spent on employees and salaries. It is really about we're an employee intensive organization because we're a customer service focused organization. The employees are there to provide a level of service to our property owners, whether you're getting a decal at the front office or whether it's a ditch being cleaned out next to your home. That's what our employees do day in and day out. And I appreciate them. And I hope y'all will too. When you see them, thank them, let them know that you appreciate them. That means something to them. Again, they have most of our employees, probably 90% of our employees drive into work and drive more than a half hour to get here. And they pass many other opportunities where they can work and be part of another organization, yet they choose to come here to Sea Pines. And that's a good thing for us. So when you see them, encourage them. I will tell you, we don't always get it right, but we do our absolute best. And when we don't, we fix it. And our employees recognize that. Their goal is to always get it right the first time, as is mine. But when we make a mistake, we go back and we correct it. So, Mr. Chair, I think that's all I have. I'm going to turn the meeting back over to you, and I think we're going to have some question and answer after that. So.
Okay. Well, that actually concludes the official part of the annual meeting. We'll adjourn the meeting and we'll go to questions and respond to those. So I'm adjourning the official part of the meeting. And I have at this time 4 questions that were submitted in advance of the meeting, and there will be others, I'm sure, that will come and be asked over the monitor when we do it. One is from Bing West, General West, my neighbor. Bing, hello. Bing is very interested in going to battery-operated lawn equipment for the noise. He's given in his question all the reasons to move to battery-operated lawn equipment. And he wants to know, will CSA change its mind? Well, Bing, I think Bing asked this question for your benefit, because Bing and I have had many conversations about this, and he knows my personal opinion. I want to move to this, and I want to reduce the noise. I want to reduce the other pollution. And that's what we're in the middle of with our task force. We've attended some demonstrations, and we talked to some landscapers and things. The task force will meet between now and our May board meeting, and we'll give you a report at the May board meeting. But it is to me personally, it is a very hot topic. Next is a question from Bill Beanie. And Bill, how you doing? Again, I know you asked a very legitimate question, I assume from your construction background. Bill wants to know that we've talked about the traffic circle, et cetera, and he wants to know if we give any thought to developing a schedule, identifying critical dates for decision-making, identification of major milestones which must be met. And he realizes it's a complicated, important issue, and he wants progress updates with greater clarity and definition. And Bill, you're exactly right. It's a very difficult thing, because in these traffic issues, the only thing that CSA controls is the part from the circle down to the gate. We own that road. Everything else requires the cooperation, or actually the initiation, by a government entity. The roads are actually owned by the state. Palmetto Bay through the circle, down Pope Avenue, the 278 William Hilton Parkway. And there's a very unique system apparently in the state of South Carolina. The Department of DOT will not come onto a town and do work unless the town requests. And we've been working with Senator Tom Davis to try to come up with a mechanism to get started at the other end. So the time schedule is not just us. We have a time schedule, what we would like things to move to, but we're only can try to influence those entities that have to make it happen. We will do what we can on our part, and I can tell you we're having regular meetings with representatives of the state and the town and also the county. So, and until we can get some idea from them on how they will progress this and set dates and priorities, it's somewhat, all we can do is keep working with them and trying to get them to move to get that. But that's what we would like to do. We have tried to set dates with them and schedules and things, and they, unless they agree to those, we're at their mercy. Next is a question from Linda Frazier, and as a president of Club Course POA, she'd like to know if anything other than speed bumps, which she says could damage certain cars, will be utilized to slow cars coming through Greenwood Gate, such as rumble strips. Sam, would that be something that you would probably be better able to answer?
Yes, sir, I would. Happy to do it.
The challenges at the Greenwood Gate with the speed of the cars is something we all recognize. Rumble strips are an option, but in addition to that, what we've tried to do is get the cars to actually stop when there's not a line of folks coming through, so that there is more opportunity to make the left-hand turning moving out of Club Course. That's that, and the transition between Club Course to the Club Course, if you're trying to make the right and you're coming in the property owner lane, really is a challenge. So our goal with that, with security, is to slow folks down when they're coming through the gate. Really what we need to do is when we redesign the gates, is to make that Club Course transition a much smoother transition, to really take that left-hand movement, if possible, out of it completely. That would be the ultimate solution for that problem. But we recognize it continues to be a problem.
And before you leave, I think the next question is a question you'll be better able to answer. This is from Lisa Howie. And the Greenwood Drive bike gates are broken and standing open more time than not, wants to know why we're allowing this and what the status is of getting fixed.
Yeah, that Greenwood Drive bike gate, we've replaced it twice now, and we're actually looking for even a different solution because of the level of activity we have there. On occasion, what seems to happen is the mechanism that connects the bike gate to the rear that allows the gate to be opened and closed But it gets torn up or damaged with folks coming through the gate. So we're actually in the process of looking for a different solution for that bike gate. Again, ideally, what we would like to have is the bike gate closer to the gate officers like we have at the Ocean Gate, so that the Ocean Gate, if you drive through the Ocean Gate, you can see where the officer actually controls the Ocean Gate physically with telling folks to start and to stop. And that's what needs to happen there. If we can move that bike path closer to the officers, because it is some distance away. But we are actually looking at changing the equipment on that bike gate currently, because we've had so little success, even after having replaced the current equipment twice. We recognize it's a problem. I do think the officers do their best when they have time and opportunity to make sure that folks aren't going through the gate that shouldn't be there. And I know whenever there is a problem, they post additional signage out there to make sure that folks understand this is private property and they shouldn't be coming here unless they have a reason.
Okay. And now we come to live questions. Do we have any live questions?
Good morning. At this time, we do not have any live questions. If anyone would like to raise their hand and ask a question live, please go ahead. I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Well, we thank you for attending this meeting. We hope that you're reasonably satisfied with what we're doing. We're doing our best, and that's all we can promise you. We're going to do our best to serve you. Thank you. Go enjoy this beautiful springtime. A little warmer than normal, but you know, summer's coming and it's going to get even hotter. God bless you all. Thank you.